We will call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson.
Here.
Trustee Dolan.
Here.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Washleger. Here. Trustee Ledke. Here. Trustee Connor. President Vanderstel.
Here. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Anson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If there's anybody for public comments for items that are not on the agenda, anybody that would like to speak, you can come towards the podium now. Or do we have any? We have one on Zoom, I believe.
That is correct.
Does he want to speak in public comments? All right.
We're good.
It appears we do not have any rights to speak in public comments. So we will go to our first item on the agenda, which is a consideration to approve the village board minutes from the August 24th meeting.
Also move with the addition of adding to the notes the questioning of the expense and the safety of windows in the village board room. I just need a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes with the addition of questions regarding
The expense and safety.
the
of
expense and
windows.
safety of the windows in the village board room. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is the vouchers for payments, to approve the vouchers for payments. These are in the amount of $1,493,795.64.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers for $1,493,795.64.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is consideration of a motion to approve an operator's bartender's license. This is for Cynthia Arendt.
I'll make the motion to approve the bartender's license as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that license. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve contracts for the Bark River Park pedestrian bridge replacement with Wheeler Lumber in the amount of $30,995.12. That is a change from within. I will reread this item, but I want everybody to note that change. I'm sorry. I just confused everybody. I'm going to start that item over completely. You'll understand the next. Take two. A consideration of a motion to approve contracts for the Bark River Park pedestrian bridge replacement with Wheeler Lumber in the amount of $33,250 and Ford Construction in the amount of $12,975. Sir.
This is to replace the current metal bridge with a wood deck. We made a temporary repair to it 4 or 5 years ago, which did prolong the life, but we had a structural engineer evaluate the bridge, and they recommended that it be changed or replaced, and that's what this item is. The only change from the bridge that's currently there is that it will be, instead of 48, it'll be 54 inches high to meet current code for a bridge by a school. And that added $1,000 to the bridge price. The railing, yes, sir.
I'll make the motion to approve the contracts for the Bark River Park pedestrian bridge replacement with Wheeler Lumber in the amount of $33,250 and Ford Construction in the amount of $12,975.
I second it.
It's moved and seconded to approve the replacement of the bridge with Wheeler lumber in the amount of $33,250 and Ford Construction in the amount of $12,975. I'm going to hold discussion open only for a minute because I know that Trustee Connor is just coming in, but he did have some questions. I don't know if he has any more today, but we are on the bridge.
Okay.
Right now, we did get an explanation from Mr. Gershevsky explaining that there was repairs made in the past and we needed to repair it
And I
because
really
it's rotting
appreciate
out.
the pictures that were sent
Yeah,
today
the
to show
pictures-
these rust and
Yeah.
holes underneath.
Pictures that say 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it did answer my questions I sent, so I
Very good.
appreciate you following up on it for me.
Yes, sir.
Mike, so just out of curiosity for the public, so this is the third bridge that we are working on out of the 4 in the village, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
The only
Getting
bridge
them up
that
to
we
standard.
have left is at Hartbrook Park.
Hartbrook Park.
And we redecked that one to give us some longer life.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Mike?
The next item on the agenda, there is a change in it. If you'd all change that number of 30,9953.12, you can change that to 30,995.12. The 3 should not be in there. So $30,995.12. So now I'll read the item, which is a consideration of a motion to approve change order 2 for the decrease of $140,408.96 and contractor's application for payment number 4, which is the final, in the amount of $30,995.12 to Payne and Dolan, Inc. for the 2019 Paving and Utilities Program.
Also,
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anything to say? Anybody? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the contractor's application for payment number 1 in the amount of $388,615.55 to Wolf Paving Company, Inc. for the 2020 paving program.
I make a motion to approve the contractor's application, payment number 1 for the amount of $388,615.55 to Wolf Paving Company.
second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve payment number 1 in the amount of $388,615.55 to Wolf Paving Company. Any discussion?
I just want to say they did an outstanding job.
Anyone else? Good? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve change order 2 for an increase of $4,200.70 and contractor's application for payment number 6 in the amount of $394,287.95 to Musson Brother, Inc. for the Sunny Slope Drive utility improvements.
This change order for $4,200 is for, our record showed that the lateral to Walgreens and the BP gas station was a 6-inch. And once they exposed it, we figured out it was an 8-inch, so that change order is part of that. And one other change order in this $4,200 is a sewer lateral that normally they're buried with the water lateral. It was offset by 10 feet and they hit it, so they had to repair the old main and just to get that operable until they could replace it with the new main. So that's the $4,200. So that $4,200 is going to change the total contract price on Sunny Slope for the utility project to $1,778,000. I'm sorry, $1,778,072.28. That's with the $4,200 increase. And the second part of this is a payment to Musson Brothers for $394,287.95. That's for work completed on Sunny Slope. I'll give you a little heads up on Sunny Slope. We're at the grading stage. We're setting storm sewer to grade, sanitary manhole to grade. Stark asphalt and concrete will be in next week to pour curb. So we're getting close.
You feel good about the change?
I do, yep. That was something unforeseen. That water main was laid in early 70s.
Also move that we approve the change order number 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve change order number 2. I'm going to ask, does that include the payment number 6 also?
And the payment number 6.
It's been moved and seconded to approve change order number 2 for the increase, and payment number 6 in the amount of $394, $287, and 95 cents to Musson Brothers for Sunny Slope Drive utility improvements. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we have consideration of a motion to approve a contract with Energetics in the amount of $27,900 for the Woodland Court Lift Station Control Panel Project.
So this, we budgeted, went through a budget process, and then we sent it out for proposals. What this will do, it will rebuild all the electronics, the PLCs, all the control units that control that lift station, along with the panel. We sent it out for proposals. Energetics came in $6,000 cheaper than the next competitor. So the village and Rooker Melke are in agreement that we should award the Woodlands Lift Station panel to Energetics Incorporated.
I'll make a motion to approve contract with Energetics for the amount of $27,900 for the Woodland Court Lift Station Control Panel Project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Do we have they done work for us in the past?
A long time ago, 20 years ago. StarNet out of Franksville have been low in the past, but they have so much work that they're already booked out into next year. So they feel that if they raised their price, that they feel if they would have got it, they would have done our job. But Energetics came in
And the
less.
quality is equal?
Yes, we're happy with them.
Okay,
A lot of other municipalities in the area use Energetics.
okay.
6,000 is quite a jump down, and do you know the reason why?
I think it's because StarNet really doesn't
Jacked it
need
up.
any more on their plate.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? We have the motion, we have a second, we have no more discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Faulkner.
Thank you.
The next item that we have on our agenda is the Waukesha County Village of Hartland Recycling Update.
As you can see from my memo, the Waukesha County Recycling Group has stopped supporting, as of January 1st, 2021, the recycling yard, or recycling receptacles at the village recycling yard. Last year, they stopped subsidizing the personnel we use to monitor the site, and they've also canceled the dividend that we used to get from them. I provided the documentation as to why they're doing that, but we're looking for at least some village board discussion as to what they would like to do with the village recycling yard. That would be the bins, 3 bins that hold plastic, glass, paper, cardboard, the oil, and the antifreeze. Those are all part of that Waukesha County part that they supported in the past. We've provided some options. We don't necessarily need an answer tonight, but we really would like the board to give us some direction as to what they might like to do with the recycling yard. We can close it, and DPW staff recommends closing it to non-residents because it's no longer being paid for by Waukesha County. There is also the option of changing the hours, reducing the hours, or eliminating the recycling at the yard completely. DPW is not in favor of that option, but that is an option.
DPW is not in favor of which option?
Closing it completely. We'd like to see it left open for village residents to use during our normal hours of operation, but it is an option.
We have a contract with Advance to take the recycles, that take the plastic and the bottle, that put in our recycle bin, right?
At your home, correct.
Home. So why in the world would we not have people do it at their home rather than bring it down to the village and have us have pay more for the same service that they have at home?
We do get a lot of use from people that move and periodically have a lot of cardboard or things that they bring down.
But still, if somebody needs, and we've been told before, that if somebody needs more recycling, just to call the village and the village will give them another recycle bin.
That is
You can have
correct.
2 or 3, as many bins as you want. So I go back to, why are people bringing their stuff down to here when every 2 weeks they can put in that recycle bin that we've already paid for, that their taxes are paying for, rather than having us have more tax dollars spent? I don't
Well,
understand.
but there's also the oil and the antifreeze.
The oil and antifreeze, yes.
Batteries, yeah.
But that's
No
not-
batteries.
No batteries.
But that's not part of the bulk that they're getting.
Right. Oh, okay.
I will say we do get a lot of people who have for whatever reason, moving, work something, they get a big influx of cardboard. You cannot put any cardboard, the only way to get rid of cardboard at your house is if it's in the bin. So you can't stack, you couldn't stack 60 folded up boxes next to the bin. They won't take it because all the stuff is all one-man automated equipment now. So there is an issue of overflow of what I would say infrequent, that comes up from time to time, a little, probably more frequent than we think of. That is an issue for the yard that should be given some thought. But you are correct, glass, plastic, and cardboard, in theory, a residential amount, you should be able to liquidate through your weekly pickup, bi-weekly pickup. Obviously, oil and antifreeze, we think is a really good service. The last thing you want to do is not have a place for that to go, because it'll go somewhere. So, and it's again, it was something back in the day, it actually used to make some money. Used to be a commodity. Now it is not, but it's still, when we show you the budget numbers, later in the week, that is not a big ticket item to have the antifreeze and oil, dumped out. But it is all part of the greater discussion of, what do we want to do as we move forward? Because we had it pretty good, and we have, I think the challenge that's been articulated to me by lots of people in the DPW, is there's a long-standing, all Waukesha County residents are welcome. Changing those habits is significant, and if Waukesha County's not paying for it anymore, which they aren't as of the end of the year, now it's Hartland taxpayers paying for it, so, it should be Hartland taxpayers getting to use it. Which goes along with this is the brush pickup. We still have the yard. That's a service that's very popular. So we still have some staffing that kind of goes hand in hand with that. Obviously, the same staff, but, it's not a question of just saying, if we don't do any of the recycling, could we close? We still would have to be open for those brush pickup events and dates. So it's a bigger picture. Not looking for an answer. We're looking to let this marinate, and I think when you see some budget numbers later in the week, that might help steer.
Does Advanced Disposal have an actual drop site that people could take their boxes or cardboard there?
They used to, back in the day, be very
Customer friendly?
open to that. Unfortunately, people have abused it, and they've had incidents at their site, and they're just not set up for residential.
Okay.
And so they've limited that. In fact, they used to be pretty customer service that way, but have had to stop doing that,
Okay.
so. And it is nice that they are in town. I think not that you ever want to recruit refuge transfer station to your community, but the fact that they are here and have been very good neighbors is really nice that they're literally, 10 businesses down the road from our DPW site. That's pretty convenient.
And Public Works and Administration are working to pin down those numbers of what that cost will be to us to take over providing those bins. We've talked about reducing the number, because without Waukesha County residents in, we shouldn't have as much. And also verifying what the cost for oil and antifreeze and oil filters will be to us. We don't have those numbers right now, but we will.
So right now, Waukesha County, those big long dumpsters for the scrap metal, cardboard.
Scrap metal's ours, and we make money on that.
Okay,
We handle that separate from Waukesha County. It's the 3 recycle bins for plastic, paper, cardboard. It's the sucking out or removal of the oil and antifreeze and filters.
so they come and they actually take care of
They
that.
pump,
We
they
give,
have,
we provide the canister, but they pay to pump it out
Sa-
and haul
they-
it away?
they contract with Safety Clean to have that pumped.
Okay, how often is that pumped?
This year,
Guesstimate.
it's been 3 times already.
So not too often. I
Not
mean,
too
'cause that's a
often.
55-gallon
But
drum, right?
We average about 2,000, 2,500 gallons a year for oil.
Oh, okay, all right. So,
It's a 500-gallon tank.
right.
Antifreeze is much less.
What's that gonna cost us? Do you know? What-
I don't, and we're working
Oh.
on that
Okay.
to pin that number
I was gonna say,
down.
maybe there's a way that we can work with a private company that's here, that's already dealing with oil and antifreeze, that
Well-
maybe there's something where people can go and,
That's not the problem. Well, people are taking care of that now for us.
Well, that's through Waukesha County, though.
that's getting changed.
And that's gonna go away.
We're gonna be paying for it.
Somebody else that came here and sucked it
Well,
up.
Safety Clean does that under a contract with Waukesha County.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get in discussions with Safety Clean to see what that will cost us.
Yeah. I think it's good that you're bringing it to the board, but I think we would definitely have to see the numbers.
Absolutely.
If it's, I mean, if it's extremely minimal, I can understand having the service. I definitely agree with, you cut it down to residents only, or you're gonna have any community where they don't have it. Now, honestly, I mean, can't residents only dump brush there at our recycling?
That
center?
is correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
you'll see, I mean, anyway, I think that once we have those numbers, it'd be much more helpful
Yeah,
for us,
that's
or at
why
least
this is
myself.
just pretty
because-
much an informational discussion
Yeah.
item at this point.
Yeah.
But we want you to be aware that it's coming, and we'd like permission to start kind of advertising that it's gonna close to Waukesha County residents now,
Yep.
so that we minimize the problems that may occur after January 1st.
And include in that advertisement that it's not the Village of Hartland trying to keep everybody out. It's just, I
Absolutely,
mean,
absolutely.
My fear is too, you don't want to allow too much time in there, because all of a sudden you have everybody that has stuff to get rid of. If everybody else shuts down before us, it's like, all right, they're shutting down in a week,
Yeah.
and there's a 2-mile long line with just trucks. So we want to be careful about
So
it.
to that, 2 points. One, before you maybe go public with that you're not doing this, we might want to have a solution as to what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Because you will end up taking on more calls and more questions anyways, so.
Yes, ma'am.
If we could figure that out. But then also, when you come with the numbers, can you also talk to us from a operational standpoint of what this is looking like for staff and all of that as well? I mean, are you adding more manpower hours onto anybody for this?
No.
Okay,
In fact, we would still staff it with the volunteer, or I shouldn't say volunteers, the seasonal help that monitor the recycling yard waste site. That wouldn't change if you don't change the hours.
okay.
And the cost for them, and I just did the recycling report for Waukesha County, I want to say it's about $3,200 a year
Okay,
to man. And as Mr. Administrator Rhodey said, we'll still need that for the yard waste site from roughly April to November at Thanksgiving time when we close down.
okay.
So that shouldn't really change, but it's a minimal amount for the staffing.
What's your target, so you said that right now you want us in discussions, this will be in effect January 1st. We're talking right now, it's pretty much September 15th.
I would say, I would like to see something maybe by the end of October.
Okay,
That gives us November and December to get this information out.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The big problem is going to be, I live in Hartland. I'm a Hartland resident. Yeah, can I see your driver's license? Can I, I mean, that's gonna be real hard for our seasonal help to determine that, hey, do you really live in Hartland? Well, I got a Hartland post office box.
Well, we provide them with both a street list, and we also make them aware that village addresses, all of them start with a number. There's no letters. So if they see a letter, a N or W, it's not a village resident.
Right.
So, and they do check driver's licenses, so we do try to control that as much as we can.
That's a tough one.
We do it now.
That's,
Mike, do you think you'll be able to have the numbers? Do you think 2 weeks is enough time, or do you need a month?
We can shoot for 2 weeks.
Would you plan on, let's go with a month then. If
Okay.
you're not, I don't want it to be
Like October 20th?
I don't want it to be
Yeah.
maybe if
As
they want
soon
it
as
by
I
end of
have the
October,
numbers,
I
I'll
was
get 'em to
thinking
you.
the first week in
First week?
October, then in case there's a hiccup, then they have that as a backup.
13th?
As soon as we can get the numbers to you so that you have time
Okay.
to work with that, we will get them to you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Mike.
including
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Mike.
So that'd be October 12th?
13th?
No,
12th.
12th. Yeah, 12th.
12th?
It's a holiday, isn't it?
No, October 12th?
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
Yeah, we'll be able to meet on Columbus Day.
Hey.
We usually do. We don't usually take off for it. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a petition for direct annexation from Arrowhead Union High School.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Bob Rosh. I'm the president of the Arrowhead School Board. I'm joined today by Laura Myra, who's our superintendent at Arrowhead.
Good evening.
Hello. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I understand no decisions will be made. I understand all that, but we wanted to take the opportunity to present a partnership between Arrowhead and Hartland that we think would be beneficial to both entities. So, and this will be, I'll discuss 2 points. One of them is obviously on your agenda, and the second one I'll talk on as well. So what our proposal is that we establish a partnership between Hartland and Arrowhead. And the first topic is on annexation of the property. We are asking that the village agrees to annex all of Arrowhead's district's property, which abuts the village of Hartland, borders on all the sides of the campus. This includes what is known as the main campus, as well as the 42-acre farm north of Highway K. And under this agreement, Hartland agrees to provide all municipal services to Arrowhead. And I'll break this down a little bit more and give you some examples of how you already do that. Hartland agrees to never levy property taxes on the Arrowhead property. Future development of the farmland will require a developer, at the developer's expense, to connect a water loop from the property to North Campus connection. For the members that haven't been on the board, a number of years ago, Arrowhead and Hartland paid for a water line that connected to Four Winds West. Along that property line, we ran a water line there that fed your subdivision, but it also stubbed to go into the Arrowhead's 42-acre farm property there, with the purpose, obviously, to provide water to that site, but also to make a loop into North Campus. Right now, the water line, and Dave certainly can explain this better than I can, the water line runs to Arrowhead, and then it dead ends at North Campus, and it doesn't create a loop. Our concern is if something ever happened to that water line feeding Arrowhead, we would have to close school because there would be no water, versus if we had the connection of the loop, that may help eliminate any of that potential thing from happening. So the other part of that is the future development of the farmland will require the developer, at the developer's expense, to make turn lane improvements as may be required by Waukesha County on Highway K across from where our North Campus entrance is into the campus, assuming that adjacent to that is where an entrance to that potential development might be there. So on the other side, as far as Arrowhead's side, we agreed to pursue the sale of the 42-acre farmland for future development as determined by the village of Hartland if it's annexed into your municipality. The sale would be contingent upon our school board approving the proper sale price to benefit the Arrowhead District residents. We've owned that land for a little over 20 years. It's not being developed by us for any reason, so our board has made a decision and we're going to potentially move forward with the sale of that property. And we believe certainly that it has a greater value to us in a resale sense, being in the village of Hartland with the ability to have Hartland sewer and water and that type of thing. So, and then the second part of that is we would negotiate a law enforcement contract to staff a school resource officer from the Hartland Police Department. For the last 25 years or so, we've had an agreement with Waukesha County Sheriff to provide that school resource officer, and the natural progression will be to have Hartland cover that instead. Just some additional background information on this. Hartland has provided sewer and water to the Arrowhead campus since 1956, and the school pays for this service obviously through the usage fees for sewer and water. Hartland has provided fire service to Arrowhead since 1956, and we do pay annual inspection and hydrant fees to Hartland for that, for part of that, obviously. I mentioned this, Arrowhead has common borders with Hartland on all sides of the campus. Arrowhead has the Hartland street addresses and mailing addresses, and there are no deed restrictions that prohibit the placement of Arrowhead lands into the village of Hartland. To give you a little history on that, in 1954, the first farm was bought where South Campus sits, which was the original building. That was bought in 1954 with the school opening in 1956. In 1966, the farm where North Campus is was bought with that building being built in 1970. And in about 2000, the farm, the 42-acre farm along Highway K was purchased for potential future expansion based on projections of student populations and things like that that ultimately didn't pan out that way. But we did deed restriction researches on all those parcels of land, and there's nothing in any of those deeds that would restrict where that land sits. I know historically there was a question about why it was named Arrowhead instead of Hartland, and I think historically the story basically is because it's a Union High School district, they didn't want it to be just named Hartland High School again when he built the new school, so they came up with the Arrowhead name, and that's how it sits. So, and that will never change, so it will always be known as Arrowhead. And legally, we are Arrowhead Union High School District anyway. So the goal of this partnership, we hope, is to complete the transfer of the property before this year ends, and we would pursue the sale of that farm in the spring of 2021. The second part of our proposal partnership is to build a connector road between the Arrowhead Drive and Campus Drive on land that the village of Hartland owns and set aside for this purpose. Again, for the board members that may not have been on the board back then, when Arrowhead and Hartland did a land transfer probably about 10-ish years ago or so, in order for Campus Drive to connect to Highway K, we did a land transfer where we got some land for Arrowhead, we gave some land for Hartland so that road could go through there. In that agreement, there was a parcel of land that Hartland specifically kept for this connector road. And through this conversations we've had over the years, it never really got to where we got the road built, but we think this partnership is now the time to do that. Let's get it done. And what we would agree is that each partner pays 50% of the total construction cost, which would include the site prep, drainage fee, and fees and stuff like that. We've already paid for the design of the road through our planning. The designs are literally about 90% done, and obviously your engineers would have to look at the layout of it and stuff like that, but it sits on your property, and we covered the cost of doing that. The road that we would like named Moorhawk Way would be a Hartland road and maintained by the village. And then we would propose that future replacement of that road, like you have a 22-year cycle, whatever your road cycle replacement, we would partner with you again to cover 50% of that replacement cost then. A couple just some miscellaneous points. This agreement, we believe, gives Hartland a guarantee of control over the development of the 42-acre farmland. Potential buyer, keep in mind, could choose to keep that land in the town of Merton. We would prefer it go into the village of Hartland. And on our side, it guarantees that Arrowhead would get 100% of the village services, which would include the police department, the fire department, building inspector, sewer and water, et cetera. We don't think our needs are that high. My understanding of the statistics is on the fire service side, we average maybe one call a month to Arrowhead, whether it's a fire call or an EMS call. And on the law enforcement side, outside of when that school resource officer is there, it's less than probably a handful of times during the course of a calendar year that law enforcement is needed on the campus. So obviously the Chief Misko can give you better stats than that, but that's my understanding of what those are. So I wanted to make sure to give Laura a chance to say a few words as well, and certainly we'll take any questions if you have.
I think Bob was very thorough in explaining and providing that overview, so I won't repeat any of that. He did an excellent job. I would just add to it that on behalf of Arrowhead High School's administration, we feel like we already have a really solid partnership with Hartland, and it feels like it's the right time to formalize that, and we feel like that would be a win-win for Arrowhead and for the village.
I do, going off of what you're saying, I agree. You know, you don't want to take anything away from anywhere else, but with it used to being Hartland High School, and then however it went that it turned out to be, you know, in the town that it's in now, when you see around the state, a lot of times it says Hartland, Arrowhead, you know, Hartland being the location. So it definitely is something that's already kind of known, but it is, you know, Arrowhead. But I think it's its rightful place. If all these stars align, you know.
Thanks, Laura. And just, I guess, before I take any questions, again, thank you for the opportunity to present the information. I think it's a positive thing certainly for the village of Hartland. And I know that on our side with our board, this is the direction they would like to go and partner with the village on this effort. So I understand, again, there's no decisions tonight. I guess what we'd be looking for certainly on the annexation part is some direction from the board. The rest of the connector road, that can be a topic for down the road literally, but certainly the annexation, there's timelines that we try to meet with that, and I know we have to give you the official petition and all that, which we are working on. But I guess if we're looking for some guidance, or if we can answer any questions that anybody might have. Yeah.
Did I understand that the Waukesha County police officer that's there now during the day would be replaced by a Heartland police officer? Is that what you said?
Correct. And we have them under contract, so
Okay.
we pay a portion of their annual costs. And
Would
that,
we have to hire someone new then?
Most likely.
Okay. Okay, so,
And Torrin-
I did have that, I just wrote it down, I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I had it right.
And it's an agreement we have with Waukesha County to cover the cost. We have to have the students are in school 179 days a year, and that's our agreement with Waukesha County, is that a deputy would be in the building 100, every day we're open basically when the kids are in the buildings. Anytime the students are not there, the officer doesn't have to be there, so they can be reassigned back to their agency to help in whatever capacity they determine that to be.
And do they, just out of curiosity, what do they just walk the halls or?
They do a lot.
I
Yeah.
don't.
And we just had this, matter of fact, we just
Okay.
did a presentation on their need for school resource officers in schools. We have a job description for the school resource officer, plus we have a specific policy that dictates what they do. They generally, as an example, are not heavily at all involved in the discipline of students. That's dealt with by the staff of the school.
Okay.
But it's about safety in the buildings. It's about they do, just as an example, they do emergency drills with the students pretty regularly. They do education with the staff, what to do like when you have an active shooter kind of scenarios and things like that. They instruct in the classes as presenters. When there are violations of the law, whether it's a municipal ordinance violation, which would go through our municipal court, as it does now in the town of Merton. Or if there's a criminal law violation, they deal with those in-house, and it's their discretion. Obviously, the department policy dictates kind of what they do as well. So there's a lot of that stuff that goes on. A lot of times they're just there in case a student overreacts to something, and it protects the staff members, which is not, I don't say it's a common thing, but it can occur. And there's just a sense of that police officer being there is a significant, like, diffuser of problems, you know? Obviously, we have, you know, we look at it, we have 2,100 citizens all the same age in 2 buildings. And there's a lot of traffic that moves through that campus, so they're doing traffic enforcement and their safety issues and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a presence when we have big events, graduation, big football games, things that go on in the buildings that, you know, there's just a lot of people. It's good to have law enforcement presence. They cover those types of things. So it's a very positive thing. Like I said, we've been doing it for 25-ish years at Arrowhead, and it helps a lot. I know it helps a lot. And I know our stats, we have an annual report that the Sheriff's Department gives us, actually with our associate principals, that tell us like how many disciplinary things occur during the year and how many times the ticket is issued, which is very minimal, because, you know, the officer has a lot of discretion on how to handle things. One of the other things I wanted to point out, and this is not uncommon, because we have a dedicated officer in our buildings, they have direct contact with our principal and the associate principals. When kids are out on social media and they say foolish things that can be perceived as a threat to the school or to a threat to a classmate or something like that, it's not uncommon that somebody else will see that information and email the principal in off hours or the APs and say, hey, so-and-so is saying this about this, which can be perceived as a threat in the buildings. And it's not uncommon that school resource officer is knocking on that kid's door within an hour, talking to the kid and their parents. Same thing when you have mental health crises and things like that, and a lot of times that can get broadcast over a social media tweet or a whatever, Facebook or whatever they put it out on. And same thing, somebody's calling our APs or our principal, who's calling that school resource officer, and they're checking on that kid right then and there to make sure everything is okay. Because we know a lot of those problems can transfer into the buildings the next day, and that's what we try to cut off. That's the beauty of having a dedicated officer to those buildings, because they know the kids, they know the staff, they know the kids. So I went on and on, but it's a positive thing.
Well, it's having so many kids and in high schools, especially my son Zach, he's actually made friends with the resource officer to a point. You know, I mean, they talk every day, they get along, to where, you know, a lot of his friends that may have gone or thought about going down a wrong path, he has the, you know, resource officer talk to him, and he kind of straightens them out right away before it heads that way. They do a lot more than just, they're a lot more than deputies and police officers. They have a great relationship. It's a special person that's actually in as a resource officer. It's not just a normal officer. They're really great people, and they do an absolutely wonderful job, and I don't think that they can be replaced. It's a great asset, and we need it.
You're done, Jeff. That's a very common thing that happens, is that the rapport, because the deputy that's there they're there to build rapport with kids, to cut off those problems and things like that. And being a little biased, I would like Hartland's finest to be in there. And no slam to anybody else, but knowing the agency as well as I might know them, I would prefer that Hartland officer be in there over time. We do have a contract that runs through the 2021-22 school year with Arrowhead, with the Sheriff's Department. So it's not like if we annex the land tomorrow, we got to put a deputy or an officer in there next week. You have time to build up to that, because we do have a a solid contract already. But I'm sure if I was the chief, I would want my officer in there, not another department's officer in there, so.
Is there just one officer for both campuses? I recall that, Bob, when you were the chief, you kept saying we need another officer for like 500 people per officer. And now you got 2,100 people and we got one officer.
Right.
Is that adequate or is it really something you just?
Well, it would be nice to have one in each building, but I think reality, we have really good kids. And probably less than, and Laura can probably answer this better than me, but probably less than 10% of our kids cause 90% of the potential issues that a law enforcement need to be in the building for that particular reason.
Right.
Obviously, Jeff talked about other reasons that they're in there, but just because of a low level of problems in that sense, you probably wouldn't need more than one officer. And
Right, I would say 98% of any discipline problems that arise are small and they're handled by the teacher, or perhaps an office referral where an associate principal deals with it. It's rare where there's something that rises to the level where an officer would be issuing a ticket or arresting a student, but it sure is nice to have that person there if it does come to that. The majority of the job is that proactive piece. They build the relationships with students. The officer also builds relationships with staff members, and that's been, I've seen firsthand how many times that's prevented a problem. The officer may hear a student with some special needs is getting really riled up. The officer's going to go there, but they'll hang back. And in one case, the teacher kind of did one of these through a window, like just hang back, because the teacher knew if that officer comes in, it will spark the problem. In another case, a call was made very discreetly and just had the officer walk by that same classroom window, and it brought the student down. So that kind of a rapport and relationship is very proactive, very beneficial.
And I think a lot of these things, because there's a lot of moving parts to it outside of even just the officer, I think that a lot of these things will have to get narrowed down. I know we've kind of been exchanging some information, but I think within the next month, we would need to see what you're comfortable with, if the board was open to it, but see what you're comfortable with as we start taking these steps. I know one thing for me is, that obviously it's scary, as a village, you're bringing someone in with the annexing land, which leaves it open to, if your board says, we'll just keep the land we're in now, obviously, there's going to be an agreement that makes sure that there's, in some way, shape, or form, that doesn't happen, or basically somehow we're getting paid something on that portion of land, not the school, but, we wouldn't want that to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, obviously I can't guarantee you, but I know we had a unanimous vote, and just by us gonna be signing the petition gives you that
Right.
message that we intend to sell the property.
Yeah.
We need the funds for other projects on our main campus. And like I said, we've had the property for 20 years. There's not been any development on it. And the need, 20 years ago, the projected need for the property has significantly diminished, where we felt, as our board felt, we're just sitting on. And we have citizens, absolutely have citizens come forward, because we're going for a referendum in November. What about the farm? What about the farm? And I would, just a public service announcement, if you have any questions on what we're asking in the referendum, please go to our website, because everything is on there, and there's a whole list of frequently asked questions, the farm being one of them, and we clearly state in there that our intent is to sell the farm. We're not going to sell it at a loss. Obviously, it wouldn't be the right thing to do, but we don't think that's going to be a problem. But we think it's a fair exchange for the village having control over the development of that 42 acres. And on our end, we benefit from having 100% of the village services, which, we pay our fair share of it, obviously. And a plug for the PD. I think Mike's question is a good one. The beauty of having a Hartland officer in there is, on any given school day, there's other Hartland officers literally within 3 minutes of that school. I know, because I've been on calls in 3 minutes to get there. And so I know how immediate, and we have such a great working relationship with Shaniqua and Delafield, our counterparts in a lot of entities, or a lot of, efforts, and certainly the chief can speak for that. But we just know that response time is there like that. I'm not saying anything about any other department, but I can speak definitely for ours that response time is phenomenal.
I think the best thing that you could do is start working over the next month with your board, the administrator, to start getting some things on paper so you can bring them forward to the people here and possibly stop in at Plan Commission to go over what's going to be necessary to look over that land. Is that,
Yeah,
so that there's more information than just the presentation, unless the board is not for it at all at this point in time?
one item in our code talks about it going to our plan commission, both to review the land, to confirm, and then also to recommend zoning, even though we'd like to zone it R1, but since it's a school, we would have to zone it institutional. But
Right.
the farm then would also be, so there's some statutory procedural things that we need to do at the plan commission, and then plan commission is a recommending body back to this village board.
Yep.
In addition to some of these, what I'll call talking points or contract points about some of these logistics, so I
Yep.
think.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, could we get on the next week's plan commission then, meeting agenda
Is it
to present?
at that point?
That's up to you, the agenda goes out Wednesday, so.
Because we're prepared to present, like I said, we'd like to keep this.
I would work with Tim on that,
Okay,
to see what you have ready. I think you should give Tim a call tomorrow, Administrator Rhodey, I'm sorry, unless the board, again, we're against it. Typically, when looking into those things, it would get referred there, and then begin getting the information so that everybody on the board can see the things, that are being laid out with the officer and all that.
The main reason we ask them, just to be out front about it, the main reason we ask is we are starting to ramp up our marketing effort for our referendum.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we have the opportunity to tell the public that we're working on a partnership with Hartland.
Yep.
And part of this is the annexation and the sale of the farm. So we just want to, I'm just going to be upfront, that's what we're trying to
Sure.
accomplish.
I think the faster that we can get all those answers, I mean, like, the informational stuff that's in black and white in the numbers so that it can be presented to the board. If you're ready to go in 2 weeks, I mean, you have until next Wednesday, you could have the information, say, put me on the agenda when it comes to Plan Commission, as long as the board we're allowing it. I'm just suggesting you call Administrator Rhodey tomorrow, because you're gonna have to have something that's saying,
Yep.
you know what, you
Yep.
gotta come up
Already
with a
got
map
some.
or at least a satellite shot with a marker showing the land,
We've already got it set to go.
All right,
We had some questions.
go ahead.
So I just wanted to clarify, you had said that in the deadline date, so now it was November. Essentially, you'd like to have this all kind of wrapped up and the process moving for marketing?
Well, obviously, the vote is in November for the referendum. We just had a goal of trying to get the land annexed before the end of the year.
Okay.
If doesn't exactly get done before the election, as long as we know we're on track to do it, I think that's more than fair, so.
It allows us to answer a question that comes up fairly common. You're asking the taxpayers for extra money, but you're sitting on a chunk of 40 acres of land that could be really valuable. And we agree, we are, and if we can get the right price for it, now's the time.
So then I gotta ask, why are we still sitting on the property?
We had it appraised about 3 years ago, and the appraisal amount was not, the board would not have made a profit from what they purchased. And it was probably goofy timing in terms of hosing sales and land sales. But the board decided that would be irresponsible with taxpayers' money to sell the land for a loss. Now we feel as though there'd be a profit made, particularly if it was Hartland land.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's all mine, did you?
No, you answered, I only had one, you got it.
Thank you.
You got
I
it.
had to ask, because I knew that was I just had to get it out there so they all hear it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming in
Thank you.
and answering all the questions that everybody has, and I think, like I say, it's called on as fast as you can get that information going, and I suggest that you reach out to the administrator tomorrow to talk about Plan Commission. Not a guarantee, it doesn't sound like, but you guys can figure it
Sounds
out.
good. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
you.
appreciate your time.
Thanks. Would the board allow a 5-minute recess? No. There's one no. I'm hoping for 4 yeses.
Boy, it's a rough room.
Gonna take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. to it. If everybody's ready, thank you very much. Thank you for allowing recess. The next item that we have on the agenda is discussion and consideration of a conceptual site plan for development of the Hammer property, tax key HAV 0428959002. Mr. Eisenhut?
Hello, how are you guys?
Good.
I wanted to look into pursuing splitting the property. It's 1112 Lisbon Avenue, Lot 2. It's that property. It's just to the north of Lisbon, west of Merton Avenue, south of Highway 16, and it connects to Hartland Meadows subdivision. It's kind of an odd-shaped property. It's 5 acres, and I'm looking to split it into 4 lots and be as least disturbing as possible, keeping it least amount of development as possible. On the website that you guys have, the village, it says it's a high-density area. I don't know how true that is, but I don't think that's really good considering the community there is smaller lot sizes. So I just thought I'd see if we could split it into 4 instead of one big one.
You've talked with Scott already, it's my understanding.
Correct.
Scott, I know he's, Tim, have you had any discussions with Scott?
Nope, just a concept plan for discussion, and then obviously this would be a plan commission item that
Correct.
would have a recommendation back to the village board.
So it would be up to the board, this is it's not even new anymore. We've been doing this for what, 3 years, 2 years? But it comes so that it's out in the public and it's to everybody. That way, it doesn't waste anybody's time if it's a no. And if it's something that people are thinking may be a good idea that's worth looking into or allowing someone to look into, at that point it would go to Plan Commission. Obviously, just as with anything, anybody could ask any questions that they wanted. I think we do have some members from the public here also. If they ended up wanting to speak, they can. But it's obviously this is conceptual, and typically with these, it would go to Plan Commission, or it'd be, hey, we just are not open to that at all.
Craig, are you planning on keeping the houses kind of what they are already in the subdivision?
For discussion, I'm currently trying to work with the homeowners association, considering got to go through their subdivision to get to these lots.
Right.
So I want to have something that fits with the community. At the same time, something that might be a little bit more affordable. I guess I'll take direction of whatever recommendations to make it work for everybody, really.
Have you talked to Scott about the water flow issues?
Yep. There need to be a grade plan put in place. Being 4 homes, you basically just got to pitch the water away from the home and make sure you're not going into other neighbors' yards, basically, creating any water issues. This plan would kind of alleviate any roads or any more sewer work or anything like that. It would be able to just be kind of, depending upon setbacks and restrictions, tuck houses in there without really disturbing a whole lot, and potentially keeping a lot of the environment up, making a smaller yard within there, and maybe making it private is what I see. But, that's just kind of the concept idea I have at this point in time.
Anybody else?
So, sounds good.
To move forward, I would say make a recommendation to the Plan Commission.
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send this conceptual plan to the Plan Commission. Does anybody from the public want to speak, just because there are members here? No? If they do want, I just want to give them the chance. That motion's on the floor. Is it okay with the board that the public would speak while we're actually in
Yes.
discussion?
Yeah,
But go ahead, if you'd like to speak, you could. I'd prefer that you come up if you could, only because the microphone won't pick you up for the YouTube station, if that's okay.
My name is Gary Strombeck. I live at 305 Badger Drive, and I share a property line with the proposed Hammer property. This isn't the first time a developer has tried to develop. As a matter of fact, it was November of 2018, and prior to that, I think it was back in 2015. The same proposal was presented back 2 years ago, and I guess I have a question of what's going to be different about and it was turned down for a number of reasons. My question was, what's going to make this one different than the one proposed to the Planning Commission and turned down back in 2018?
I don't know that answer at this time. I think that obviously now with everybody knowing it's going to Plan Commission, that's part of this conceptual meeting, is if it's even an open door to discuss. And then typically it goes to, and you've been to Plan Commission, you know how it all works, but that's where it gets into those things. On does it fit plans, is it, the neighborhood, all of that stuff. I don't know what the difference.
Okay, point of fact also, I think I heard Greg mention that this was zoned high density, which it certainly is not. It's RS1, it's low density, it's always been low density. It's on the last year's zoning map, and it's on the 2045 comprehensive plan as RS1 low density. So I'm not sure where the high density map
I'm
came
glad
from.
it's low density.
Well,
That's great.
okay, so
I
just
would have
bring
to
up the
look, I
point of
didn't
fact.
look up the zoning.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gary.
Thank you.
Do you want to check the Zoom people?
Anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? Thank you.
Yep, hold on. Hi, Michelle.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Evan. I live at 290 Badger Drive. I am just, introduce myself. I'm calling in to get more information about the development as my property is very near the potential development. So just looking to get some more information and hearing what the proposed developer has to say about his conceptual site plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom?
Yeah, this is Jeff Ott. I too am at 265 Badger Drive, and my property butts up right against the property in question, and I live next door to Gary Strombeck as well. And just listening in to understand exactly what's happening with the property, and obviously want to stay close to what is going to continue to happen, as Gary alluded to. Plans that sound very similar to what's being proposed were turned down again in 2018, and just want to stay abreast of what's happening going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, again, just so everybody realizes, and it's not new now, but it's a change from how things were even 5 years ago. We have someone come to the village board. Years ago, what they would do is send someone right to Plan Commission, and you wouldn't even see it till it was in much closer to its final stages. So when someone's doing something like this, we have them come to the village board where the YouTube meeting's going and the Zoom meeting is going, so that it's kind of a signal to everybody that something is going on, going and finding detailed specifics. That will usually come out at Plan Commission. So this was more so the signal. The village board could have said, no, we won't even entertain this. But now it will go to Plan Commission to talk about the details of whether this is a good idea or not. But it's an idea enough that the board itself feels it's appropriate to send it to Plan Commission.
Senator Fairness, though, we do have another citizen member jumping in as we speak, so I don't know if they want to talk.
Okay.
Her name is Mary. She just came on. She is connecting to audio currently. The new person in the meeting, did you have any intention of speaking tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? Anybody from the board? So with that, it was moved and seconded to send this conceptual plan to the Plan Commission. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried, so this will be sent on to the Plan Commission, and anybody wanting to pay attention to the first Plan Commission meeting that this will be on would be the next Monday's meeting, correct?
Yes.
Was this
No, this was
notified?
not sent out to the neighbors. So, and I don't know what we would all need. We'd have to check with Scott to see what needs to be submitted, because currently we have really rough documents. I don't know if you have additional.
Okay, so.
Right now, it's just a concept.
Okay.
I don't really want to invest a whole lot of money in engineering or have someone go and stake it out. I'm just looking for a real simple split, nothing, nothing crazy like possibly was proposed before.
I think the plan commission isn't a consulting body.
Mhm.
They can only take action on what's presented, so you
I-
would have to present.
I presented something already.
So would it be on this next meeting or the following month's meeting?
It would not be on, because we have to notify the neighbors within 500 feet of the site.
Okay.
That's something that is on the plan commission for the property,
Okay.
which that notice went out last week for Monday's meeting.
So it would be
So it'd be
October's
plan
meeting.
commission. Yep.
Okay, so that the notice would go out, okay. I would suggest, I would call, I know you spoke with Scott already, I would call Scott for next steps, but it sounds like it would be on October's meeting so that the proper notice goes out to the residents, and then that'll be on the plan commission meeting, and then that'll, start that process.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Is it 500 feet or 600 feet?
600
Johnny?
feet.
600, so 600, everyone within 600 feet of the property would get a letter that something, is happening about the property.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to accept proposals from groundskeepers for the 2020 street tree and subdivision tree planting in the total amount of $50,493.38.
This is just a continuation of our annual tree planting program. We've budgeted this for 15-plus years. This is the same amount that was budgeted last year, and this is basically to replace damaged or diseased trees, most of which were emerald ash borer that have been removed. The stumps have been ground, and we're looking to replace the trees. The subdivision trees, monies are put up when a developer, builder, home comes in to get building permits. They pay for the new subdivision trees, and that money's put into an account, and we draw from that account to plant those trees. Those trees are planted when the October, well, this year we're doing it in September, following their occupancy permits. That's how we determine where to place the trees to minimize damage during construction. And this is just a continuation of that program.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Last year, we had some serious problems with the trees up on Southern Oak,
Correct.
which was, I believe, in excess of $10,000
Correct.
in repairing people's property and sprinkler, trees that were just placed. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that there was other areas where some problems didn't happen. Was there a problem that happened on Capitol Drive? Or was there anywhere else there was any
Nowhere
problems?
else.
No.
But I will say that every property where a tree was planted got a letter several weeks ago, letting them know that we were doing tree plantings, giving them the option to opt out, or in some cases, if they wanted a specific tree, we accommodated that. So everybody's been notified. I have verified all of the subdivision tree locations, and I will be verifying all of the street tree locations before planting takes place. They will also receive a second letter after the board approves the contract and we get a specific planting date range, notifying them of the planting and asking them to mark their irrigation systems and dog fences.
Okay. Along with my question, now last year we had a problem and there was no letter that was sent.
Correct.
And 3 trees got planted on a property that had 3 other trees right next to a property and across the street from a property that had 0 trees.
That's correct.
I guess I'm just looking out because it's an added expense. Is there a chance we could switch to, instead of someone can choose to opt out, that this way we can guarantee that the people want trees and it doesn't cost us that extra money, is we have them opt in?
Well, I think that's part of the purpose of the letter we send to them, because if it's hard to have them opt in, because they may not necessarily know that.
But the reason I'll cut right to it, the reason I'm saying this is that the problem that we had on Southern Oak, and that's a huge problem. I don't know what the total was, but it was over $10,000. It dug into, and it only happens that, yes, I know the person, but they called myself and other people, and Administrator Rhodey got it taken care of, but there was no knock on the door. There was no, hey, we're gonna do these trees. That company went in, and now maybe they were told to, I don't know, but they went in and put these 3 trees in between 3 other trees. And if the person had to choose to opt in, I guess what I'm getting to is that it keeps the door open for some major mistakes. We could have 4 people that call and say, I don't want that tree, and now we're going, because we will go and take them
Well,
out.
But that's why I, first of all, I moved the time frame for planting up 6 weeks to hopefully get a better price. But secondly, that's why every home that got a letter, is where we're planting trees.
No, I get, and if we missed a home, how do you know that they don't want a tree, and then we go and plant it, and they say, I never got a letter?
To my knowledge, I didn't miss a home. Every letter came from a list where we removed a tree and ground the stump.
Mhm.
And I'm also verifying every location, so that does not happen again.
Okay, and I'm not trying, how did it happen the last time?
I don't know what happened there, but for one, he didn't get a letter.
Right.
Right. And that's why we're sending 2 letters, and that's why we're also verifying that the letters are going to where they belong, so that can't happen again.
Okay. I personally would feel much more comfortable if in some way, shape, or form, a person was like, yep, I want you to put that tree in, because we're not gonna pay any extra money to take them out then. You know what I mean? It eliminates that chance of mistake, and when you, even if it's in the right of way, when we go into someone's property, and I can understand it to an extent, but no one looks out their front yard and says, oh, but that's the right of way. They get very upset. And if we didn't get them a letter, then they didn't let us know about irrigation, so now we're into that, and all of a sudden, we're sitting at 10 grand plus. So it's just, I don't know how much of this was on that company, but also the costs do seem to be going up a lot with this tree planting program, and I'm starting to become very nervous with it as it is going up. I don't know if anybody else has the same feeling, but I mean, it used to be in the $30,000 range. Now we're getting into 50s, and based on the last few years, if we take into account the overages, we get money back if a tree dies and we plant it, but we have to go dig it up and then plant the other tree. So we get the $300 back for the tree, but we still are paying $400 or $600 to plant the new one.
Well, there is a 1-year warranty, so anything under warranty would be handled under that. The trees that we're replacing weren't under warranty. They were several years old. But
Mike, how many of these were ash tree related, do you know?
I don't offhand.
Do you think you're coming to the end of the ash
I believe that this
replacement?
number will go down because we are reducing the amount of ash trees that we're removing. We had a 3 or 4 year removal program, and we had over 350. And I would say, we might have replaced 300 now, give or take. So that number should come down dramatically in the coming years.
Additionally, our newest subdivision, the Newman product, Lake Country Lutheran, is private road, so those are private trees. So we're totally out of the tree business over there.
I get that.
Which is good.
I would love it if we get out of the tree business. It's just what happened last year. We were 40% over on a $33,000 contract because of one house, because we tore into I don't remember what it was, it was $4,600 or $5,000 or $5,000. They took however many yards of mulch on a home of stone, and we had to redo all of that. It's just, I'm just trying to be cognizant of it, but now we're going right back with the same system, other than sending one extra letter, and with the same company, and saying, all right, now it's gonna work, and it's 20,000 more. I'm just being careful, because usually when we do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, I feel like we should change it a
When
little
actually
more.
it's a different company. The company that had last year was higher than groundskeepers. It was Johnson's Nursery.
Oh, good, so it wasn't groundskeepers that it was our company
Correct.
last year, good, okay. So
And
it
I
is a
take
different
responsibility for that. I'm in charge of this project, and that's my responsibility.
company. Okay.
With the 2 letters, have you already started the letter process?
They've already received one letter
They did receive one.
3 or
okay.
4 weeks ago.
And what's been the response thus far?
I've had 4 people opt out.
Okay,
I've had 8 or 10 that have asked for a different type of tree.
oh, interesting.
and I've accommodated that.
Okay.
Is that something you're just doing now? I mean, I look at the price difference of those trees, and that's quite a bit. I mean, it goes from $299 to $700 for a tree. That's kind of,
Well, we try to vary the species specifically to protect against what we ran into with the emerald ash borer. We try and minimize any one particular type, but vary the species. And we try and minimize the planting of maple trees because the village is very heavy in maples. 40% of our trees maybe or more are maples. That's why we vary the species.
I mean, if you're gonna give them the option, I would hate to see everyone picking a $722 one.
And actually, they haven't been. One of the trees that picked was a ginkgo, a couple were flowering type trees.
I guess my opinion, I kind of like, I mean, you already sent out one letter, so that kind of goes against what you're saying opted in, but my question is, okay, you're going to send out a second letter. Could that second letter, to Jeff's point, be phrased to that point of opting in? We haven't heard from you, and we just want to make sure.
You're all in,
Yeah, so if we don't get confirmation back that you're opting in by this date, we'll assume you don't want a tree. And that way, that might eliminate that. I mean, first letter already went out, so you can't say opt in, but I think you can tie it in that we haven't heard from you. And, we just want to confirm that you want to opt in. If we don't hear back from you, we're going to assume you don't, and then that should suffice that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, some of these prices, yeah, these are, I mean, I don't know, these are some high prices. Maybe I should go in the nursery business, but, I mean, I see some of the trees are planted and, I don't know, they don't
Well,
look like
and-
$300, $400, or $500 trees to me.
And I think it's important to differentiate between the subdivision trees and the street trees. Subdivision trees are planted in accordance with the planting plan that was given to us by the developer, and they dictated what species goes where. I don't make that choice. That's from the planning commission
We have to
approved.
follow that even when we replace them?
Well, I try to, because that was approved by the planning commission as far as what should be planted.
When are you scheduled to send out the next letter, Mike?
As soon as I get a planting date from the nursery,
Could we just,
because I need to know when he's going to plant so I can tell people what that date range is.
yeah, would you take a recommendation of just maybe flipping the wording of, you must contact us for a replacement? Essentially, as opposed to opting out. I'm just.
My
I
concern
have
with
to agree
that
with
is I'm
President.
gonna get a call from 80 or 90 people, potentially. That's a lot of administrative time, but I can do it.
Email? Yeah, you can email. I guess I have to, I mean, I concur with the president. I mean, my fear is that the letter either will be mistaken or misread, and then they're not, it's almost like we need to flip it to
Right,
to take the action of, if you want it, come to us.
right.
If not, right, we'll take the responsibility. If you don't want it, then we're just assuming because we didn't hear from you. You know what I mean?
I'm in full
just so
agreement, and I
expensive.
understand there's a
I just
lot
am
of
trying to
extra
figure out
work.
how to help you.
What it does is it eliminates the ability for there to be a mistake, which could be, and again, I don't remember the
costly.
numbers, but it was 10 or 11 or 13,000 total to replace this one mistake. That's just at one property. If it did squeak through where there was two properties like that, that could be,
Yeah.
let's just say
$25,000.
$15,000 worth of damage. That definitely is gonna cost us less to just administer. I mean, I understand it's a lot, but getting track of 90 people to say, do you want a tree? And it's all on them. If they send it in, if they don't send it in, they don't send it in. I just don't want to see the mistake happen again. And I understand it's a pain. I understand it's a pain, Mike. I'm not coming down on you. I just can't think of a better way to do it to eliminate that problem.
I mean, can you put it on the website? I mean, is this another one? Hey, I didn't read my mail. I thought it was junk mail, but
Well, I think what Mike is alluding to, there's a lot of people that get this letter, they don't even respond to that. And then they say, I didn't want that tree, but it's like,
Right,
hey, you
right.
got a letter, we did everything.
well, no, I'm for being proactive. They have to say, yes, I want it.
And maybe the letter is more of like a second notice.
Right.
I don't know, I don't have the answer. Sorry, Mike. I think I opened a can of worms.
How much of this is for the subdivision contracts?
Subdivision contract. Groundskeepers, $14,098.80. The other
So
one,
this is actually, we're looking at 36. What, do you know
36.
by chance what the numbers were last year?
I don't offhand.
I don't either. I just, it's okay. I mean, maybe there won't be any problems, and I hope that there isn't. It seems like when there is a problem, it's very expensive. I think we need to maybe refer to the plan commission that we want to give them a range of the prices of trees, and here's the ones they can pick from, instead of it being, I mean, a $722 tree, and the guy next door gets a $351 tree. I mean, yeah, dude, I mean, that's a wide range.
Yeah, but I commend
90
you for following-
houses,
I mean, you're
a difference of
following what's there,
$500
So I
apiece.
commend you for doing that. I mean,
It's up to us to make those decisions.
yeah, so
Make-
I appreciate you doing that.
And that's, I understand what Mike's saying. I wasn't even thinking of that, but he's going to court. See, when the plan commission is doing it, they don't like the price. They're just like, yeah, we want this species and this species and this species.
Well, I mean, I want a
Well,
coffee tree.
I
Yeah,
want a coffee, yeah.
But-
One in the front and one in the back.
sorry, y'all, I know it's late,
They,
but
they don't drop coffee beans, Robin.
It's all right. It still looks like a coffee tree.
Smell. Wake you up in the morning.
We're not helping Mike, I know.
Okay.
So you're looking for
A motion?
we'd be looking for
For
a
a
motion. We can
motion.
handle the notice, I
consideration.
guess.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposals from groundskeepers for the 2020 street tree and subdivision tree planting in the total amount of $50,493.38.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the motion for the groundskeepers for the 2020 street tree and subdivision tree planting in the amount of $50,493.38. Discussion. The only thing and I don't typically do this and do not take it too harshly, but to staff, I'm saying with what we had last year, I appreciate you stepping up to the plate to saying you are all on this. Man, I hope we don't miss a beat on it. Just try to make sure, if you can make contact with the people, try to make contact with them beforehand.
What's the latest planning can take place?
Last year we did it in November, but we moved it up to try and get better pricing. I think we did from one vendor. But you can go till pretty much the ground freezes.
I don't know what the best time to plant them is. That seems odd to me, but maybe
We
it
do
works
it in the
out.
fall.
Well,
because-
fall's a good time to plant.
It
You
is,
don't have
because they're
harsh sun and
dormant,
everything,
Yeah, right.
yeah, you don't
And
have
you
the
don't
sun.
have to water. In
Right,
the
as
spring, we
much.
typically have enough water to keep them hydrated, and they don't die as readily.
All right,
My-
any
my-
other discussion?
My only
Go ahead.
question is that I was asking that because, like I said, I'm just amazed at these prices. So if we sat there and talked about the planning commission, is it possible to bring it to them and get pricing, or are we way out of timeline that this is something to think about next year?
I would think we're at a timeline for this year, but we definitely can start working on it and maybe even come up with something from the board, or myself or Trustee Walschlager, who are on the plan commission, can take it and say, hey, the village board is suggesting and asking you guys to, go a different route on this because he gave us a spread of trees that range from $250 up to $1,000.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's important to understand that you're not paying for those subdivision trees.
Yeah.
Those are being paid by the
Right.
people purchasing those houses, and we evaluate what the tree costs are every year.
That goes into
And
the-
adjust what future homes will pay to make sure we cover those costs.
That's
What we can-
$16,000 though, right?
But there's only 30 homes
No, I know.
this year. What we can do is we can look at the list for next year and remove trees that seem to be more expensive. That's an option.
Okay.
For the 2021 planting, we can, look at the pricing, and if there are trees that are exorbitant, we'll just remove them from the planting list.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion is carried. Thank
Thanks.
you very much.
Thanks for hanging in there, Mike.
Please don't take that too harshly, Mike.
It took us a long time to
Sometimes
get
we're a
there.
little rough. Takes us a while to get there. But we all care. That's why we ask.
We're all revved up.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the general construction agreement with Building Services, Inc. for the administration lobby remodel project in the amount of $21,628. And we probably should get an extra item on the agenda to give you a medal for waiting until the end. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, hopefully, good evening, everyone. Thanks for considering our proposal for the general construction agreement. My name is Brett Heichel with BSI. I was here last meeting, talking about the planning potentially for this space and then the upper level. And this general construction agreement is for the upper level administration desk. It's for BSI to generally contract. So what that means is it's a superintendent on site and will manage the bid process for our subs, which are mechanical, electrical, millwork, and some masonry work. And then we would work with the village in regards to getting the number of bids and managing that whole process. Along with that superintendent will be working on site as a as a supervisor, along with doing some of that construction work and demo work too. So they kind of wear two hats during the day.
I'm sorry, I need to pause for just a second. This item is not on the updated amended agenda that was posted.
Oh.
It should be.
I'm looking at the amended agenda online. And it's not on the amended.
I copied it from.
So I'm so sorry. I just want to make sure we're like in proper, right,
No
as you're
problem.
speaking and it's, we
Understood.
got this as an agenda public, so.
Let me go to the website quick, because I pulled the one that's on the board up off the website.
It's on 9/14/2020 amended PDF agenda, item 14. Item 13, sorry. Consider a motion to approve
Yeah.
general
Here's-
contract
Yep,
agreement.
so I know what yours is.
Our
I don't
13
know.
says announcements.
Yeah, on this
There was
amended
an-
agenda.
Is it, what's it say on villageofheartland.com?
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Under the agenda, the 9/14/2020 amended PDF agenda,
And then go to, and if you look at the one that's the village packet,
it's on there. It's not on the packet, it's not on
Correct.
the next one
Oh,
over.
it's in the
No,
packet, but it's on the
Did we amend the agenda 24 hours or less before the meeting?
It
Friday.
was Friday.
Friday it was
That's
done.
what, that's what I thought.
And it's
Yeah.
on here.
You were saying, that's
So
what I
it's on
thought.
the PD, I just want to make sure.
It's on one, but it does not look like it's linked on the other.
Correct.
So it was sent to the newspaper, which is a very important part, but it sounds like it wasn't uploaded onto the web page.
There's two sections on the webpage. One's the PDF of just the agenda, and then the other one is a PDF version of the agenda plus the village packet.
Right.
For the public. It's not on
It
that
doesn't
one.
look like the packet.
It's not on the packet.
That
So
has
on the
all
agenda, it's on
material.
there, but not
So
the
the public
packet.
doesn't have the material,
Gotcha.
yes, yeah.
I'm gonna take a board vote on that. I feel we should move forward, but I would like a motion, to whether or not we'll accept this. Just because of the confusion that's been raised and we're on camera, I think that we
Yep.
should stand together. Or if we decide
I'll
we
make-
wanna knock that
I'll make a
item, but
motion to pursue
it
with,
sounds legitimate.
yeah, I'll make a motion to pursue, as long as it's
second.
the public knows.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward simply because of confusion. That item was put on, it's been verified by the clerk that was set and publicly posted in a legal manner. It may have not made it to an electronic version, but it does meet all the notice requirements based on the Wisconsin state law. So with that, thank you very much.
Sorry.
No
Nope, we're
problem.
good.
Did everyone catch that, or should I?
You're gonna vote?
Um,
We have to
Oh,
vote.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I guess we can do
That motion is carried, that we accept the agenda and that we know it's been properly posted according to law. So,
We just thought you weren't here that long, we just delayed a little
that. I
bit
mean, like, I
longer.
knew we were, and I was like, this is weird, okay. Maybe he's like interested in the tree planting thing, like, I don't know.
So the BSI group was intending to come back to our next village board
Correct.
meeting, taking the feedback, signage, windows, and some of the other comments, to kind of take another run and get some feedback on that project. One challenge we have is the upstairs project is eligible for the COVID relief funds, but the project needs to be done by mid-November. So we hustled and got with them, and they sent the agreement. And again, even though I do think the village board approved the upstairs last meeting, we said, hey, get us this contract, let's bring it in front, try to be as transparent as possible, which they did, and that's the agreement in front of you, and that's what we're looking, I guess, for another approval to get that going. They feel they can meet our timeframe to be eligible for those COVID funds, but in order to not give them a 2-week stumbling block, we put it on tonight's agenda. And he said he loved coming to meetings, and so he'd be happy to come to all of our.
I know a lot about Hartland now, so.
Or any just,
We can make a motion and then have discussion, or have discussion and then make a motion, which is, it's kind of up in the air on however it goes. I mean, with a small meeting like this, a small enough group, I mean, it is okay according to the rules. I mean, we could do either or. So if Robin wanted to speak, she could start speaking now and then.
I just had
or
one
we could
question.
make a
Are we
motion.
sure that all of the funds that we want are being relieved for COVID?
I will, since Village Attorney Hector Delamore is not here, I will play attorney this evening and say, we believe so. That's kind of an attorney answer. So we have never had COVID relief funds before. There are guidelines that specifically address infrastructure improvements to your Village Hall, City Hall, Town Hall that are for COVID safety reasons. So we believe all of these funds fit exactly into that bucket. But there's never been a COVID relief program before, and so I can't look you in the face and say, I've done this 15 times and this is perfect. I will say that many other communities in our area and across the state are doing the exact kind of improvements and are planning all to apply for COVID. We have had several meetings with the state of Wisconsin, which is managing the federal COVID funds, and they have indicated that these kinds of projects are eligible. So we're going on our best.
But they haven't indicated the percentage.
the dollar.
The dollar
That
amount or
they would be
percentage.
eligible. That they would be
Okay, that's all
eligible.
they're saying at this point. Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we all know that.
So we're going on our best information, which is, these are eligible, let's get it done. And
An amount is eligible, right.
I do think it's very important to do that upstairs.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
And you're fully aware of the deadline, correct?
It's a tight deadline.
I know, but we gotta hit it.
Yeah, so millwork could be a little bit, but we have some options there as
Yep.
far as timeline. If we get things approved and then the process moving, we've got a few of the subs already in line, so I think we can expedite that with the help of the board and meeting all those requirements, but understanding it is a pretty tight deadline.
Let's just
So,
grind and get there.
and we're, it's gonna be right around a 3-week construction time, but we need to get those materials ordered as soon as possible here. So it's tight, but I think we can do it.
All right.
All right. I'll make a motion then to approve BSI to do the upper level administrative lobby remodel.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to do the upper level administration lobby remodel, the amount of $21,628.
Just so we're understood on that, there will be other numbers. We quoted about a $58,000, so the sub numbers have not come in yet. Those would be in addition, and we're looking at right around a $58,000 total, or 56 and some change total.
I'd have to look at the last agenda.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. So it'll be that, potentially a little bit less, depending on how those bids come in.
Mhm. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah, thanks for
See you
waiting.
next village board meeting.
Feel free to come to
shouldn't
Plan
say it's
Commission.
such
I think
long
everybody's coming to Plan Commission next week, so feel free to join them. It's
Yeah.
Pack up dinner next time.
gonna be a busy one.
Announcements?
Oh.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Hello,
sir.
I just wanted to give you a little information. Bristlecone Water Tower is empty and it will be painted starting Wednesday. So they'll come in, do interior spots. We have rust on the inside, so they'll touch up the rust spots, and then they'll do a complete exterior paint. I just wanted to give you a heads up. That'll be a 2-week process, weather permitting.
Does that affect the water, I mean, for the
Yep.
customers?
So to get it, oh, you mean the empty water tank?
Yeah.
We have enough water supply, and that area over on the northeast side is a boosted zone, and we have two 12-inch water mains feeding that water booster, so we'll be fine. I already notified fire department and the local fire departments around the area, if they need our water service, that they'll need to contact the DPW, because we'll probably have to start a well, because they won't have the reservoir from Bristlecone.
What do you mean start off? Well,
They're sucking the water out so fast, it drops faster because we're going on less, we're going on less
And we don't
tolerance.
have any water in that. The Bristlecone's completely empty. That's 300,000 gallons. So we're gonna we lost that water for
We're
fire.
not talking about drilling a new well.
No.
I'll fire one up.
That'll be in a few years.
Just starting the generator, the motor.
They're just going to your backyard, Mike.
Yeah, right.
Someone hurry up and drill that well.
You just need your hose, huh?
Yeah, they're-
Have that running by
Don't
6
worry.
a.m.
Just don't dig to China.
Well, that'll be nice.
Yeah, that'll look good. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Chief?
All right, just one quick thing. There's a Defend the Police rally coming up on Friday. I think in light of what happened this weekend, I know the police department's very gracious and we welcome the support for that. It's unfortunately what happened in LA County this past weekend. It's atrocious if you ask me. However, there has been a counter-protest group that has formed, and we are watching that closely on social media. It's a very low number turnout as we watch it today. But we want to, we're going to continue to monitor that, and I just want to let the board know, in light of everything that's happened in southeastern Wisconsin the past several months, we are definitely prepared if anything were to happen. So no concerns or worries that way.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you very much.
And happy anniversary.
Police where?
Two-year anniversary, yep.
Anniversary.
I just want to thank the police department. When was it? I'm trying to think now. Week ago Sunday. I did a ride-along with Captain Kelsey. If anybody hasn't done a ride-along, I encourage you to do it. I mean, obviously, I think we have a great law enforcement here in Hartland, but open your eyes to a whole different perspective, and kind of what the chief just talked about with everything going on in the world nowadays and the riots and the protesters. We have top-notch officers in there. I mean, I was on a couple of traffic stops. Their goal is to go out there, educate the individuals, talk to them, and geez, if I was an officer, I would have gave more tickets than what was given out, to be honest with you. But that's not their goal. I mean, so they're not out to get people, they're out to educate them, listen, empathy, compassion. It was great. And even assisted, a couple the other officers, and same thing. So, I mean, I definitely encourage, and like I said, have all the respect, but a whole new perspective when you actually are riding with them. So, thank you. You're great staff.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
I had one, just kudos to the Hartland Fire Department placing that flag on Friday, right at the BP in the Syndex Plaza for you to be able to see from 16. Wow, not only are you offering the fact that we have great quality of life here in Hartland, and bringing the community together, but that flag is just something remarkable. So I know that some of those, the employees of the fire department, some of them are volunteering their time to be there, so thank you for that.
Anyway.
Just friendly reminder, if you're not doing anything Wednesday or Thursday night, we will be in this room talking 2021 budget.
Yep.
I'll check my calendar.
I wasn't going to throw this in, but I'm going to start throwing it in just so that everybody knows, because it is a switch this year. I know we're a long way away, but I think it's important that people know, especially with as much confusion has gone on, when it comes down to in-person absentee voting, which is usually approximately the 2 weeks before the election. Hartland will be open during the regular times, which are the office hours, basically from 7:30 to 4:30 on Wednesday nights, just 2 of them for those 2 weeks. They will be staying open late. I don't want anyone to get confused, because general voting on actual election day is at St. Charles, but early in-person absentee voting happens right here at the Village Hall. Right in the boardroom. You can just come to the building. There'll be signs telling you where to go. But just so that everybody knows that, we're trying to make sure that everybody that wants to have a chance to vote does have a chance to vote.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.
There was a long
Thank you,
pause on
everybody.
that. There was